Friends, now we will listen to the next part of the golden threshold of Purnavad. Before that, I would like to request you, if you like this reading, please subscribe the channel and share among your friends. Thank you. So, the second part of the golden threshold of Purnavad, written by Dr. R.P. Parnerkar, read by Suresh Kulkarni. So, please listen to it. Let us now gauge the greatness of Shankara's philosophy. The Mayavadi philosophy of Sri Shankaracharya is not only confined to the Hindu community, it is a matter of fact an all-Indian influence. It's not merely Indians because it was born in India, but the prerequisites of the developments of this particular thought lay in Buddhism, which once spread far and wide in this world, and even now exists in the greater part of the Far East. Thus its nature becomes Asiatic. Sri Shankaracharya didn't refuse Buddhism only by the authority of Veda, but he scratched at it with his logically sound dialectic, all his metaphysical doctrine. Because of his logical refutation, this philosophy extends its geographical boundary, that is, geographical boundary, evermore. It can only be understood by taking view the fact that Sri Shankara's philosophy is a further improvement on the Buddhist philosophy. Sorry. The little historical information that Sri Shankaracharya refuted Buddhism and brought about a renaissance of the ancient Vedic religion and the often told legend of the debate of Sri Shankara and the famous Mimamsak Mandan Mishra are known to almost many people. But generally, nobody tries to have a quest into this philosophical controversy. In order to have the correct information of the doctrine from logical and metaphysical points of view, it's essential to know the previous development of the scientific thought. But in spite of this being a universal law of every science, how many Pandits, that is, scholars, who are supposed to be the authorities on Vedanta, Shankaracharya's philosophy, have got the full, detailed and comprehensive knowledge of the previous development, the Buddhism and the Purva Mimamsa. How many of them feel a need for it? The lay reader can be easily excused thereupon. We must give full allowance to our intellect to have a throughout knowledge of the previous thought in order to view the intellectual wealth, profound learning and wit and humor from its criticism on the Trinity, Gita, Brahma Sutra and 10 Upanishads, that is Prasthanatrayi. It is the most interesting to know only with the above mentioned prerequisite and have an intellectual pleasure. Though his criticisms on the Trinity and other writings, how Shankara effaced the theoretical impressions of the minds of the people then, which were logical fallacies, and were in disagreement with Sri Shankaracharya's thoughts, and how many different ways were the currents of the thoughts flowing, and exactly where in his writings Shankaracharya dealt with them drastically. Whom and where has he nudged? Whom did he make fight shy by his intellectual sarcasms? Where did he make the opponents act as boomerangs? Otherwise, it is not possible to have that intellectual enjoyment without having a thorough knowledge of the previous thought. If one reads the Trinity only, it will be as good as reviewing the beauty of the earth from high up in the aeroplane SS. Or doubtless it also gives a panoramic view. The new and logically originally but acknowledging the authority of Vedas is the Purnavad, which is the philosophy which gives an original thought in metaphysics by scratching the Mayavad of Shankaracharya and the Ajata of Sri Gaudapada Acharya. Both of the latter serve as the pre-thought that is called Purva Paksha of Purnavad. As it has been stated that it is essential to know the previous development of scientific thought, it follows that one must have a good knowledge of Mayavada and Ajatva. But that shall not be enough. Without a clear-cut idea of Buddhism philosophy in order to have the formation of development and philosophical thought in order. For the very reason, all the important philosophical ideologies have been given here in progressive order with short notes on each of them. Buddhism is not an ethical religion like Mohammedanism or Christianity. It has got a foundation of philosophical thought. Shankaracharya refuted the Buddhist philosophy, not its religious precepts of morality. Buddhist philosophy is also divided into 4 sections, and Sri Shankara has one by one refuted them in his Prasthanatraya. The 4 sections and their ideologies are given in the order that is, first, Vaibhashik Darshan ideology, Kshanika Atmavad, Sautrantik Darshan ideology, Dukkha Vijnana Atmavad, Yogachara Darshan, that is ideology, Swalakshana Vijnana Atmavad, Madhyamika Darshan ideology, and Shunyatmavad. It's a remarkable thing that each one of these ideologies has thrown sufficient light on the previous ideology, its disclosure. In order to have a clear idea of the above ideology, a keynote of each with its explanation is given here. So, Vaibhashik Darshan, Kshanikatmavad, Bhutam Manabalena Siddhyati Yatha Chittam Tathaivantaram Atmahamiti Bhajanam Kshanika Vijnana Swarupo Mataha Muktirnit Pararupahana Vimala Tatkaranam Bhavana Sarvancha Kshanikam Pramana Manumapyatstiham Vaibhashike. Summary of this: creation and its products, mind, and all consciousness are intelligible things. Their realizer with us is momentary realization. To take the soul and the world for everlasting or static things is ignorance. To know that everything is momentary is knowledge. The illusory notion of a monancy for transitories. This is the cause of pain and sorrow, and annihilation of this pain is deliverance. Philosophers of this ideology recognize the authority of 2 laws of Nyaya, that is Pratyaksha, and Anumana, perceptibility and inference. In Sautratrik Darshan, Dukkha Vijnanatmavad, Chittam Manabalena Siddhyati Yatha Naivani Bhutam Tatha Bhatiha Khila Bhaitikam Tu Hrudaye Syat Swapnata Tataha Atma Purvavadeva Muktirapicha Syat Karanam Bhavana Sarvam Dukkhamiha Dukkham Iha Hapi Mamakhilam Sautrantikanam Matam. Summary of this: like the previous ideology, this ideology takes mind, consciousness, and matter for intelligible things. The realizer within us is the self-conscious realization of pain and transit origins. To think that intelligible things are pleasurable is ignorance, and to know that everything is full of pain is knowledge. Affinity for intelligible things is pain, and to get rid of this pain, to annihilate. That is, annihilate is by the above mentioned knowledge is deliverance. This ideology also recognizes two laws as of Nyaya, that is Pratyaksha and Anumana, perceptibility and inference. In Yogachara Darshan, Swalakshana Vijnanatmavad, Chittam Manabalena Siddhyati Yatha Bhanti Chaityastata Bhayyanam Nahi Bhanamasti Asatam Satyeva no te tataha Atma Purvavadevo Manamakilam Mokshaha Param Bhavana Hetuhu Sarvamedam Swalakshanamado Vaijnanikanam Matam. Summary of this: mind and consciousness are the two intelligible things, matter is not. The knower of those intelligible things is momentary self-consciousness. The notion that the sense data are pain-giving is ignorance. To know that everything is self-expressive is knowledge. Pain is absolutely psychological, and getting rid of pain is deliverance. The ideology, like the other two, follow the same laws. The other two, the Madhyamik Darshan, Shunyatmavad, no bahyam nachamanasam jagadidam shunyam tvasatvattayo no bandha sukadukka bhakru nachaparo jivo na moksho nama shunyam tattvamadaha smaran vigatabhihi saushuk pramarat sada nire pankajavat shrutau vijayate asau shunyavadi param. Summary of this: the knowledge that there is nothing in the null, the knowledge that there is nothing is knowledge. There is nothing in and out. The knower of this is nothing. To think that knowable, knowledge, and knower are three entities is the ignorance. Pain is the product of the illusory belief in the existence of things, and to annihilate it by the knowledge of nothingness is deliverance. This ideology has scarce any law to follow. It would be a far-fetched idea to stick the thrice mentioned two laws to the above ideology. So far, the Buddhist philosophy is given here in a nutshell. This subject has been contracted here to give sufficient room for further discourse. The little which is given here has been given with a design that readers should view the facts dispassionately. Today, people are again attracted towards Buddhism. Even some learned thinkers who had so far been ignorant of the comparative knowledge of Buddhist philosophy and other philosophies have got a spontaneous overflow of warm feelings in their hearts for Buddhism, with an idea akin to ignorance that there is some divine light in the Buddhist philosophy. Systematic attempts are being made to sow this idea into the hearts of the people. So it behoves that radical thinkers should do and deep and comparative study of Buddhist philosophy should stand by the truth and caution the people in time. Amen. It therefore manifests here what intellectual height the philosophy which is based at the most on the two laws of Nyaya, supreme logic, can have. Acharya has made use of 6 laws of refuting the Buddhist philosophy. Not only that, but Sri Shankara brought it into the realm of logic, 2 more laws, Anupalabdhi and Arthapatti, and obtained a recognition of them. For them, he gave a tough fight with the logicians. He has also contended with the Purva Mimamsakar. In order to have a full introduction to Mayavad, we do not need only working knowledge, but we must have a thorough knowledge of the 12 schools of Indian philosophy. Sri Shankaracharya refuted Buddha's philosophy means that he has scratched near about 16 points among the above mentioned 4 ideologies. The reader must have before him those 16 points while reading Sri Shankaracharya's writings. Otherwise, it's difficult for him to understand Sri Shankara thoroughly. We have so far learned what he has scratched. Now let's see what doctrine he has upheld. Sri Shankara, that is called Advaita Shankaramata, Shlokardhena pravakshami yadyuktam grantha kotibhihi brahma satyam jagan mithya jivo brahmaiva naparaha. Truth is not momentary or nothing. It's eternal, pure, omniscient, absolute and infinite. It's known as Brahma, otherwise is the Turiya Shiva Tattva referred in Vedas. This apparent world is an illusion. Being Jiv and Brahma are not 2 different entities generally or generically and radically. The activity by which the being originally belonging to the Shiva Tattva takes the material existence is the avidya, empirical knowledge, is the bondage of the being, and the direct realization of Brahma, that is the truth, is the deliverance. Nirgunatmakavarana vikshepa vishishta matasmitastada buddhiswarupam. The nature of buddhi, that is intelligence, according to Sri Shankaracharya, is the power which can get bound itself into the 3 radical elements, that is called Triguna, like the 4 humans in the Greek philosophy, and also can cast these radical elements. Sri Shankaracharya recognizes Jnana and Ajnana as entities, 2 separate entities. That is, Sri Shankara by Ajnana does not mean the negation of Jnana. The Ajnana of Sri Shankara is made up of the 3 radicals, that is, Sattva, Raja and Tama, and has the power of getting bound and casting aside the Avarana and Vikshepa Shakti. The realization of our avidya means empirical knowledge, and also the realization that it is not the true. Knowledge is the indirect knowledge according to Shankaracharya. The annihilation of the association of the empirical knowledge and the direct realization of the self, which is pure, good that, and beautiful is the direct knowledge, and that is deliverance. Sri Shankara differentiates between direct knowledge and indirect knowledge. All these things are widely known, and therefore quotations of Sri Shankaracharya and followers are not given here for support, for fear of expansion. Reader need excuse. Sri Shankaracharya got a brilliant access or success over Buddhist philosophy, which propounded that there is nothing, everything is zero, or whatever is momentary and pain giving. By his studious and intelligent treatment of there is something. Yes, there is something. His success was chiefly due to sparkling expression which came forth by the authority acquired by a sterling self-experience and self-luminacy. The is, yes, it is. Each side of Shankara's doctrine has been well treated by Sri Shankara, the most logically and with honesty and concordance with the Vedas. This aparokshanubhuti, direct, self-luminous realization, has almost gave a death blow to the opponents. This is the great work of Shankaracharya. He uprooted atheism by his direct realization. In those days, this achievement very much anticipated and so was very well received. For the dialectical materialists, this doctrine is worth being carefully studied. The truth in the statement that there was a time when there was no mind can well be examined by themselves on the touchstone of their thoughtful discrimination. But in spite of this great achievement, Sri Shankaracharya seems to have been haunted by the momentariness and painfulness of Buddha philosophy. These doctrines of the illusion of the world and renunciation are the only solution, is the outcome of the above mentioned thing. Sri Shankaracharya attached perfection to only that aspect of the truth which is known as Turiya and Chaturth Shiva Tattva in Veda, and has called everything else illusory. Further, while proving this and giving his treatment and definitions, Sri Shankaracharya has let alone Nyaya and Tarka, logic, and has made the fullest use of argumentum ad verecendium or argumentum ad baculum. The best example of this is Sri Shankaracharya's Adhyasa Lakshana, which is not the Adhyasa Lakshana, is Nyaya. For proving these statements, he has taken unreferenced fragments of Vedic verses and has interpreted them in the way he liked by his pedantry. While doing this, at places he seems drawn with the logic. Leave aside logic further, he has ceased being honest to the Vedas. This dishonesty to Vedas and the totalitarian attitude of Sri Shankaracharya has been drastically criticized by the Vaishnavacharyas. Had the Mayavadi remained true to logic, there would not have been a cockfight among their supporters on Abhasvad, Avachadavad, Bimba Prativad, Drishti Srishtivad, Srishti Drishtivad, etc. And there would have been no need of clearing the doubts raised on the unknown Adhyas in the introduction to Brahma Sutra Bhashya, and on power of Ajnan raised by Vrittikar. What do all these controversies over the implications of Advaitavad show, which was raised afterwards by the followers of Shankara? Among all these scholars born after Sri Shankaracharya, Gaudapada was the real knight errant. This great scholar clearly opposed the Mayavadi on one point of logic, proved the non-existence of Ajnana. Shankara, by his treatment of the doctrine, had to give a slight recognition to the existence of world by calling it mithya, but Gaudapada refuted the very existence of Ajnana. Ajnana tatkaryancha kalatrayepi nastiti sa eva tasya badhyaha, which Sri Shankara said to be the very cause of the world. If the cause is not there, how can the effect occur? Because cause is the invariable, unconditional antecedents in the presence of which the effect occurs, and in the absence of which the effect never occurs. So naturally, the non-existence of the world is automatically proved. Ajatavad of Gaudapada Acharya is half zeroism, because besides Sakshi, everything is shunya to it. A verse of this fashion is in Marathi criticism, Gita, called Jnaneshwari, Aga je झालेची नाही तयाची वार्ता पुससी काही. But this inference is only the logical acrobatics and not a realistic one, and therefore Purnavad gives it little importance. Just as Sri Gaudapadacharya has refuted the avidya and ajnana of Sri Shankaracharya, similarly all Vaishnavacharyas have refuted Shankaracharya's explanation of Ishwar as Mayopadi Chaitanya and Karya Brahma by the help of inductive method and by the authority of Vedas. In Vedas, the chief radical of self, Atma Tattva, which undergoes the three conditions of birth, existence, and deterioration, is called Vishnu Tattva. Shankara and his followers have called it Anadi, but Sant, having no birth, but liable to death. This has been refuted by the scholars who propound that it is eternal, and with the same glory and enthusiasm they call themselves Vaishnava. Vaishnavacharyas consider the world to be true as the creation by the wish of God, a Lord. But they don't elaborately explain about the inert matter, Jada Tattva especially. Purnavad, logically and with the authority Vedas, propounds three radicals of the universe, Shiva, Vishnu and Vishwa, that is Jada, as having inseparable accidents and eternity of the three experiences of the one and absolute reality. It's one in three, and it's called the Purna, and doesn't recognize three aspects or factors, but sees oneness in the three. It's not a mixture of the three, should be noted. It should not be mistaken for the blend of three elements, the soul, the being, and the matter. The proposition of Purnavad is the recognition of the Purna Purush, absolute reality, the proof, inseparability. Practical side involves jnana, karma, upasana, inference, full satisfaction of having lived a dignified life and freedom from the fear of death. That is the knowledge of one's immortality. Thank you.